Welcome to another fable for these times, from the pen of me, Philip J. Bradbury. When I arrived at the village, they warned me, even before I could tie my horse up. Before they could tell me where the toilets were or the best tea room was, they told me about him, this evil contagion that infested every mind and conversation I came across. I was curious, of course, but not obsessed as the villagers were. It was such a beautiful old village in its picturesque valley of gold and purple, a checkerboard of maize and lavender. How could one person spoil such an idyll, I asked myself, as I walked one block from the main street to the river and sat myself under a weeping willow, a swaying umbrella beneath the afternoon sun. A trout rose to catch a fly, and a deer peered at me shyly from the other riverbank. I'd remarked on the peaceful beauty as I booked my room for the night, but was rebuffed. "Oh no," said the taverner gruffly, from beneath thatched eyebrows and a furrowed brow. "There be no beauty since he be come." "Since who come?" I asked, knowing his answer and feigning innocence. "Oh, him," he said, and his mouth snapped shut like a rabbit trap. "Him? Who's him?" "Oh, we no speak of him." "But you just did. You told me before I asked." "You being smart, lad?" he demanded, standing back, pulling his booking sheet away from me. I worried he'd leave me out in the cold, and I noticed his hands and face were blotchy, probably from the sun. "No, I'm not, sir," I said in my most respectful manner. "It's just that everyone talks about him, but, well, they won't. It's like telling half a joke and not saying the punchline." "Yeah, I suppose so," he muttered, leaning forward and writing my name in the square for room 16. I waited, but he said no more as he handed me my key and told me it was on the second floor, facing the river. Now, as I stood on my small balcony, my haversack still unpacked, the river called, and here I am. I settled on the soft mulch of leaves and twigs, loosed my pad and pencil, and asked my whispering teachers for a story. But it was eerily quiet, and I heard a faint cough behind me, behind my tree. "You be all right?" I asked my new invisible friend. I be all right, lad," came a deep, quiet voice, as if from the brown earth itself. "There's dappled sunshine on this side of the tree," I said, patting the ground. "You want me there?" asked my earthly baritone. "Yes, it's warm here, plenty of room for you." "But me? You want me there?" "Why not? Will you eat me?" I asked, chuckling at my obvious humour. Well, obvious to me. "But you don't know me." "If you sit here and chat, I'll soon know you." "No one else will," said the voice, shyly. "I will, so enjoy some sunshine before it goes for the day, please." I watched two swans gliding by, as if on ice, and suddenly realized someone was sitting next to me, like an approaching shadow I didn't notice till it covered me. Here he was there, smiling awkwardly, watching my swans. He smelt a little, but, well, so does everyone. So does everything. His clothes were forgettable, like every other villager. "Why did you think I'd shun you?" I asked, my pencil and pad forgotten by my side. "Everyone else does," he said without rancour, shrugging a smile to me. "Are you infected with some dreadful plague I could die from?" I asked, smiling back. "You look healthy enough to me." "Oh, hey, it's odd you say that. How do I say this without blaming?" "Just say it," I said. "I know no one here, so I can't be offended." "You won't shun me for the truth?" "The truth is what I write," I said, patting my pad. "But I won't print what you say if it pleases you." "No matter. Truth is truth, eh?" He looked around like the shy deer across the river. "Thing is, you could be shunned for talking to me." "My friend, what I think of myself is mostly forgettable. So what care would I have about the stranger's opinions?" We both chuckled, and his sad blue eyes began to sparkle. "Take up your pencil then, and I'll tell you. I came here 2 years ago, a doctor and a friend to all." "You weren't always shunned?" I was in demand, delivering babies, fixing broken bones, listening to abused wives, counselling worried men, fixing carbuncles, and all other complaints. They needed and trusted me. So what changed? 1st of April, just 2 months ago, these strangers came to town, said they was government, whatever that was, and we should listen to them. Did you? Gosh, no, we all thought they was from the next village, dressed up for April Fools. We laughed, patted their backs, and went on with our business, but his sigh travelled the length of the valley, and he shook his head, staring into the distance. Are you all right? I asked, my hand lightly on his arm. Yes, just remembering. Well, they didn't like being ignored, drew their swords and demanded that the mayor step forward. Except we had no mayor or council like other places, as we worked things out together. So what happened? Well, they were confused, demanded again, and the taverner stepped forward, being the most vocal and grieved of anyone here. They marched him off to his tavern with 3 of his henchmen. They cleared the tavern, and an hour later came out, declared him the mayor, and that a terrible plague was on its way. Gosh, there must have been much sickness. None. None? None from the plague that never came, as I told everyone it wouldn't. But these government men clashed their swords, reared their horses, and yelled loudly, and everyone chose the worst, loudest news. They suddenly didn't like my simple, effective remedies to keep them healthy. Were you replaced? Sort of, lad. They brought in these loud experts with uniforms and swords banging and told the people the plague could only be avoided if they bought these green eggs and had one a day. Green eggs? Yes, I tested them and found they were pickled and very toxic. So no one bought these green eggs. Everyone did. What? Yes, they paid many coins for these rotten eggs to keep themselves from the plague that didn't come. It didn't come? Of course, you said that before, I said, shaking my head as the swans glided by again, silently serene. So why shun you? I don't quite know, but the people preferred to listen to the loud, fearful story, not the quiet, peaceful one. I was supposed to approve these green eggs, as I was the only doctor here. They were angry when I said I couldn't. They offered me money to say they were good, but I just couldn't. And these government people, whoever they were, with pockets filling with coins from egg sales, well, they expected my compliance and didn't get it. So they got the taverner to denounce me. They paid him handsomely, and all who disagreed with him were banned from the tavern. I still don't understand. It's easy, lad. They took their green eggs, got sick, and it was my fault for not keeping them healthy. They took their fear out on the one who could have helped. Their sickness became my fault. But my head clouded with bewilderment, and my pencil laid itself down. He smiled and shook his head, his sparkling eyes turning sad again. Yes, fear sucks out their reason, and they blame the only one with their release from pain. The only one with sanity and logic. Perhaps, he said. Why do you stay? I asked. One day, I hope they will see reason and I can help them. Like the one day of the plague that isn't coming. Oh, I hadn't thought of that. He looked at me quickly as if this new thought pierced his brain. Come away with me in the morning, I said, shaking his hand and standing as evening dropped its dark cloak slowly. Back at the tavern, I asked what was for breakfast. Green eggs and ham, said the taverner. I'm sure the blotches on his hands and face were larger than yesterday. I'm sure. I left without breakfast, and the doctor and his horse joined me up in the road as the sun rose on a most beautiful village.